Us, and Pierre, the screen is all yours.
There we go. Hello, everybody. Let me show you. Can I share the screen here? I just want to show you where I was today, just to keep everybody smiling.
Of course.
There we go. Share the screen. And then there we go. So this was in Ottawa today. It was minus 22 degrees. They've got a rink that's about 8 kilometers long, the longest in the world. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are skating. So I figured I'll go for a little skate before we go much too far, and get ready for this presentation. But yeah, I'm kind of honored to be not just asked, but to be around incredible athletes. And I'll tell you why, because my world has been the coaching world. I started coaching, I was 16 years old and out of the suburb of Montreal. And I was, lucky enough to coach great athletes. But I think what these athletes are going to talk to you about are views that even me, after 40 years of coaching, I can't really relate to as well as many of those athletes. The other cool thing about this whole aspect, and I love the title of the event, Underwater Chat, because so much in our world happens underwater. And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for incredible entry and diving for underwater, your dive is not so good and there's a lot of splash. And the synchro or artistic athletes are going to go and basically spend more than 2-3 minutes underwater through a whole routine. And again, the training is incredible. Coming from the swimming world, for all of us are swimmers, you go, the artistic swimmers, that's what they do, but it's incredible. Some of my best friends are artistic coaches, and they're the best in the world, and it's quite impressive. And for the swimmers, so much of the membership of aquatics in the Americas are swimmers, and I think if you really keep thinking about swimming, 60% of our races when we race short course could be underwater, and so we're talking about underwater as a title, but mindset is really under the whole structure of the sport, and it's how you create an environment that will allow you to perform at the world level. And I have to say, for all of you guys here, and I say this all over the world, I was lucky to do some really good work with Grenada and Aruba and Senegal. I always keep telling people, why not me? And I think we got to stop thinking, well, I'm from Peru and I'm from Guatemala. I don't have a big country, so it's okay. It's okay for me not to make finals. And I'm saying, no, it's not. Every pool in the world are 25 meters or 50 meters. There's backstroke flags. The diving boards at 3 meters or 10 meters. They're all the same all over the world. And there's no special medals that go, oh, well, we'll give medals to the Americans, but not to the Mexicans. It doesn't work like that. And so the whole concept here to me is the importance of believing that great performance could happen anywhere. Magic is created by an environment. And the reason I'm going there is because I think the details and the trick of the mindset, a lot of you guys could ask the athletes and they'll give you a lot of things about it. I'm going to talk to you more from the coaching side that creates an environment that allows incredible performance. I know for you 4 in front of me or you 6 in front of me, most of you guys went to the US college system, and the environment on a college system, and I coach in the US for 20 years. The environment on a college system is magical. And you'd wish every kid has a chance to go and try it. Being part of a national team is magical. And you, often when I'm on the national team, I go, wow, I've got 4 kids myself. And I'm thinking, man, I would have loved my kids to experience that. It's just awesome, But I'm going to go back also to the panelist. I think to me, the most important day of an Olympian is the day they go home and when they start giving back. And what I hear from the panel here, and just this exercise is incredible, because even if we do it 11 times this year and we inspire 11 people only, one person per presentation, we've changed the world. And you never know what that person could do to move, a teammate or start coaching and so I'm honored to be among you guys. I've had chances to coach Olympic gold medalists. I've had chances to coach disabled kids that never made it anywhere, but are walking around with the biggest smile in their life because they learned a new skill. And so I want to talk to you a bit about that side of the equation, is how to create a magical environment so that people can't wait to get to training. And I mean, tell you, once you go to there, then you feel the magic of the sport. I've got notes I'm going to go through here, but one of the things that I did when I was at Swimming Canada as the national coach and the Olympic coach, we talked about giving back. Every Olympians, or when we made the World Championship, we would give extra T-shirts to each of those Olympians. And it says, 2016 Olympic team. And we gave one so they could give back to their swimming school where they learned to swim. So they could go and sign it and give back to their grade school when they do a presentation, and to the high school, and to the mayor of their community. Because there's an expression that says it's not who wins, but how many people win with you. And so to me, this whole aspect, even when you're an age grouper in a club, what do you do to make the club better? And that's, I think, that the crucial question that has to be more than just a coach coaches me and then I just receive the instruction. Like, the sport is your sport, and the magic comes from your involvement at making the team better around you. We are 909 days to the Paris Olympics. 909 days. Not that I'm counting, but we're 909 days. We are, if I count the numbers properly, we are 2,365 days to LA Olympics. So I got to tell you, that's 7 years from now. So for all of you people listening to me are 15 years old, you'll be 22 years old to go to LA. There's a spot for you. The team hasn't been selected yet. There's a spot. Get up and go. Like, don't wait for somebody else. Nobody's going to wait for you. Like, it's not people are going to go, oh, well, I like this boy or I like this girl. I'm going to let them make the team instead of me. Like, nobody does that. And so to me, I would even go all the way to Brisbane 2032. If you're 15 years old today, well, you're 26 years old. People start winning medals at 26 years old in the pool, all the way to 40 years old. And so, we've got 12 years ahead of us. Are going to be 11 years are going to be pretty cool. And so let me show you this little piece here. This is a quote I saw on a wall in Vancouver. It says, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens, I'm going to rephrase it. Never thought that a small group of thoughtful, committed athletes can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has changed the world. That's from a lady called Margaret Mead. And so to me, we've got 2,365 days to LA, 909 days to Paris, 129 weeks to Paris. I want you to think of a different way. It gives you 129 chances to improve 1% per week. And by the time you get to Paris, you're 129% better than you were. Only 1%, one more chin up, 10 more seconds underwater, one extra dive per hour. How you do it becomes your magic. And I think, to me, the magic comes from everywhere. I had a good chat with a fellow called John Urbanchek. He was the coach at Michigan for years and years and years. And he just retired. And I asked him a note. He's 75 years old. I asked him, what do you feel is the most important thing in your coaching? He says the relationship with my athletes. And it goes two ways, those things, you know? So you want great performance. You don't need to be buddy with your coach. You need to have a great relationship with him. The only other thing that we have to never forget, is that swimming is not just about the Olympics. Swimming is about inspiring a kid to watch you dive or synchro. That's a 5-year-old in the swimming lessons going, hey, I do that too. And so we never know the day and the time that we inspire somebody. But, you know, what you do and the little group of you that are there, and even in your club that are listening, you start the magic around you and things will just happen. So one of the things that you guys probably all know Michael Phelps. He wasn't a bad swimmer. 17 gold medals. 17 gold medals, by the way, is more than Canada's ever won total in the history of the Olympics in swimming. This one guy, I was trying to convince him to move to Canada. You know, I said, we'll give you a nationality. Come on, Michael. But here's a PowerPoint that I created in 2008. The reason I'm telling you this is because sometimes you win by 1/100th of a second, by 1 point in synchro and diving. You know, by the difference between 4th place and 3rd place might be 1/100th of a second. In swimming, the difference between 12th place and 3rd place at the Olympics is 1%. 1%. It's nothing. 1%. You know, once you go home as a champion and the other one you go home as, man, I almost made finals. You know? So
Pierre, so sorry. You referenced your PowerPoint, but we're not seeing your slides.
no, I'm going to bring it right now.
Perfect. Just make sure.
So yeah, so Michael Phelps won 8 gold medals in 2008. 2 of them were by 1/100th of a second. This is the 100 fly, the 5th event that he won, by 1/100th of a second. So here's the PowerPoint. And I'll tell you why. So right here is Michael Phelps. This guy here is Michael Kavik. And they're finishing the wall, right? This is the wall here. And they're finishing the wall. You can see the Beijing Olympic roof here through the water. But that's Michael Phelps, and this is Michael. So for you to know, this guy is going to start gliding into the wall, and Michael Phelps right here has got an extra stroke to take. He's too far behind. Okay, so here's the second flip. So see, Kavik over here is gliding. Phelps got to do an extra stroke.
Sorry,
Next
Pierre,
one.
we're not seeing your slides.
Okay, I don't know why.
If you click share screen.
Okay,
and then
there we go.
your
That's
desktop.
what it is.
There you go. Yep.
There we go. Yep, sorry. So I have to do that every time, don't I?
Yes.
Here we go.
Perfect.
So I go back. Let me just go back up here. Sorry, guys. So that's Michael Phelps over here, Michael Kavik over there. So he's gliding into the wall because he misjudged his turn. Probably didn't practice his turn properly in practice, just letting you know. And then here you get Michael Phelps. So Kavik on the right is gliding. Phelps got to do an extra stroke. Kavik is still gliding. Phelps still got to do an extra stroke. Kavik still gliding. And you can see Phelps' hands coming through. 1/100th of a second. There we go. That's what 100th of a second looks like. Bad touch, 5th Olympic gold medal. He touched the wall. That's Kavik touching the wall like this. No, sorry, that's Michael Phelps touching the wall like this. And Kavik touched the wall with a flat hand. So the fingertips of Phelps basically made it win. Well, did I miss? Am I losing you here? Can you guys see me?
Yes, we can see you and we see your screen.
Okay. I
So you
don't
can
see my
stop
screen
sharing
anymore.
if you needed.
Can somebody stop sharing for me? So,
Yes, I can try.
okay. So to talk to you about mindsets, then we got the 1/100 of a second, basically you do it 365 days a year and so on and so forth. So I've got about 11 points. I'm just going to bring them up because we got to move on to the panel. And I certainly appreciate, a lot of the things that we talked about, but here's, can you guys see this one?
No, we're still seeing your slides.
Okay. Can you guys see this one? Nope.
Not yet. I think you need to stop sharing and then reshare.
Okay, just a minute. Stop sharing. There we go. Can you see that? No, I got to share again. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. No worries.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Sorry. Start share screen again. Okay, so this is a quote from the Pope. I'm going to read only the last little part. And he says, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you. So your performance makes the country happy, but how you inspire other kids is what makes the world happy. And so here are all my points. Stop sharing. Okay. So I'm going to go through my points here about, again, I think the mindset is important if you have a great environment. So first one is first. We got you as an athlete, and coaches have to stop saying, I've got to go to the pool. And you got to think about, I get to go to the pool. This is so cool. I get to go when my buddies don't. And often they'll tug you to stay at a party or go home later. I get to go to the pool changes your mindset on your approach to your training. Whether you're 12 years old or you're 30 years old, I get to do what I love to do best, even on my bad days. I don't believe in sacrifice. Sacrifice are a terrible word. Like I used to tell the swimmers on the national team, whether it was in Australia here, they get interviewed and go, oh yeah, we have to do sacrifice. We get up in the morning and I go, that's a bad word. You don't sacrifice anything. You make a decision to want to be a world-class athlete. Their decisions, their attitude, their position to become great. They're not sacrificed. They're what you decide. You want to be a billionaire, you make decisions to be a billionaire. You want to be an Olympian, you make decisions to be. You want to be an age group record holder in your country, you make decisions. You kick faster. You're at every practice. You stay positive. You get there early. You stretch. You got to build a team around you. And I'm telling you selfishly, what does that mean? That means that you've got to have a great relationship with your coach and work with your teammates and be friendly with the lifeguards and the pool manager and know the mayor and send a note to the mayor saying, thanks, I just came back from the Pan Am. It was great. I was proud of this. Your sports science people, you got to live with saying thank you to people. I used to tell the national team all the time, when you go to swim meet, get out of the pool and go say thanks to the timers. Even if it's a little club meet at home. All these volunteers that create the environment to allow you to do what you do best. It takes a village to grow a performance. School boards, principals. I used to send notes to the principal, said, such and such did a great job at the meet. Thanks for letting me go Friday. At Christmas time, I used to send wine bottles to the mayor saying, thanks for allowing us to use your pool. And then your friends are crucial. Your friends need to be supportive, not always pulling you around. You have your pool friends and your outside of pool friends. And, the mindset, you need to surround yourself with people that will support you, that will be behind you, not always trying to pull you away from great things.
Awesome. No, thank you so much, Pierre. Thank you so much for sharing with us all that knowledge of yours, and we truly appreciate it. Now we would like to open up the conversation with the entire panel. It's time to make some questions. It's time to enjoy this conversation. And you delivered a great conversation. You just started a great conversation. So thank you so much for opening it up for us.
Thank you. So to get us started, to our athletes, in your experience, how do high levels of pressure usually manifest in your life as an athlete? I know we all have ups and downs. Can you talk to us a little bit about what are the ways you do? What tools do you use to reduce or handle these?
I could go ahead and start this one. So in situations of high stress, for instance, I'm thinking back to my first world championships, dating back to Barcelona in 2013, and my first time to competing in front of an 80,000 person crowd. And in those moments, I was a young athlete at the time, and I trained really well. But in moments of stress, when I walked out for the first time and saw the stadium full of people, my mind couldn't help but to go to the space of, oh my goodness, look at all these people. And that's when one of my teammates took my hand, Annabelle, and she said, Jackie, don't focus on them. Focus on the simple things. I said, well, Annabelle, what's simple in this case? And in my particular sport, synchronized swimming, we walk out in 2 lines before we dive into the pool and perform our routines. So simple for me was to really just look at one point on the wall as I walk out, that one point, that one point, that one point, until the music comes on, and then all of your training just kicks in. You're on autopilot. So whether you're a swimmer and you just need to focus on that black line, or the audio sounds of hearing that gun or that whistle, or the silence in diving, focus on the simple things, because those simple things are usually consistent and help ground you and bring you back in those moments of stress.
I see. That's awesome. And I would like to know about Joanna. I mean, what do you think about this?
I think there's so many ways you can go with this, but that just made me think of, I think when you get to these big meets and things, we're speaking about mindset, and sometimes it's important to put into perspective. I think one of my favorite stories is one of my friends was racing at World Championships in Budapest, and she was against a Hungarian. And so of course the crowd was going wild for the Hungarian, and my favorite part of it is that she told herself, like, all these people are cheering for me. So I think in like pressure situations, it's important, because what you tell yourself is going to be true. Like if you tell yourself all these people are cheering for me, then that's what, you have to put it into the right perspective. And so I think in high stress situations, it is important to find something that works for you. Like if you know that walking out and seeing a load of people is gonna make you feel nervous or anxious, then you need to, don't look into the crowd, focus on your block, like splash some water on yourself. So it's important to find what works for you and what gets you ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, I mean, these things happens to many other athletes, even like elite athletes. I mean, it happens to everybody. I mean, I used to freak out sometimes before a dual meet, and I've been to 2 Olympics, and I used to freak out during a dual meet, like nothing compared to that. How about Selena? I would like to know your opinion on this.
Yeah, for me, and something I can share is when you go to a competition and you don't know how you react under pressure, it's really difficult. And I find like after competition, you just get frustrated if you keep doing poorly, because you just can't figure out that balance. And I think in my experience, a lot of the times it has been, well, think like practice. And a lot of people say that, and it does work for some people. Did not work for me at all, because you're just so calm in practice. And in competition, that energy is going to always be up here, that it's so hard, no matter how good you are at bringing yourself down, doesn't mean it's going to work every time. So it took me a long time, basically up until like 2 years before the game. So maybe 2018, I was working with my sports psych, and we decided, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to make practice like competition. And so with my diving, every single dive that I did on 10 meter, I practiced it how I would in a competition. I went from level to level to level. As soon as I got to 10 meter, practiced the announcer. I can hear him in my head exactly word for word. And I'd say it, I'd visualize, and then I'd walk to the end. And I had to practice that every single day. And then when it got to competition, slowly but surely, I felt the change. And what I could fall back on was, oh, I actually have done this a million times in training. So that in a sense, did feel more like training. But then, and I'll just give a little example where I can go back at the games with not having so many competitions to actually practice that. I kind of lost that a little bit because we weren't training as much. I didn't practice it every day. And I really learned at the games in Tokyo that, like, obviously I knew diving is a mental game, but how much your mental muscle actually helps you along with your training. My body was ready, but in the end, my mind wasn't as ready as everything else was because I hadn't gotten to practice that as much as I had the previous years.
Absolutely. And I can see there is like a little visualization component, and then we're going to talk about it later. I would like to know also Daniel Pinto, which, by the way, he is already a senior. He had his last dual meet with the University of Louisville. So congratulations, Daniel.
Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you. I think I can go off of what Selena's mentioning, especially in diving. And I think synchro swimming can kind of feel the same way. Our sport isn't measured by, a time you go, or it's not something concrete. Sometimes it really does feel like judging can be a little biased or against you, but a lot of competitions try to keep that very fair. But for me, honestly, I also struggled with the same thing, kind of what Selena was talking about. It's, frustrating when every meet just seems like something's going wrong and you can't figure it out. And then, you go to training and it's like everything just works and you feel good and you're like, wow, like I should be like performing this way. And, you put all these, goals and pressures on you. And then when you get to the meet, for me, it was really trying too hard, I guess. And I really struggled with that coming into university here. And for me, it was working with sports psych and then really buying, well, I know Marcelo knows this because he used to be part of the team here. But the big philosophy here is it's bigger than yourself, diving or swimming or any kind of sport. If you do it for yourself, it gets pretty cloudy. It's kind of hard to do it all yourself. So for me was really buying into trusting the work I'd put in and letting it all go. And then remembering that I'm performing and doing this for something bigger, which was my team. And then having, this huge team of people that just want the same goal and are pushing each other and everyone's motivating each other one way or another was kind of the key thing for me of just performing under pressure.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think you just gotta find the right emotions. Like, I mean, like you said, it was beautiful. Like, it's bigger than yourself. It doesn't matter if you're swimming, diving, water polo, whatever. I mean, you gotta find the emotions, and you gotta let that overwhelm you, and then your body will just take over. And I actually had a personal question for Jackie. You're not only a 1, 2, 3, but a 4-time Pan American Games gold medalist. I would like to know, how were you able to keep the ball rolling and maintain that level of focus throughout the games, knowing that all eyes were on you and your team and everybody put their hopes on you. So I would like to know, how were you able to handle that pressure?
Thank you for your question, Marcelo. So my first Pan American Games were in 2015 in Toronto. So it was a home crowd. I'm from Canada, but I had my family that came down. And back then I was a younger athlete, just a couple of years on the senior national team. And that was my one and only chance to qualify my country for the Olympic Games. And back then I was young, maybe a little ignorant, and didn't really feel the pressure at all. Went out there and just figured, you know what, I'm going to try the best that I can. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm young. And only a couple of years later did I realize, you know what, my duet partner who was there, these were probably her last Olympic Games. I probably should have thought a little bit more about this. And going into my second Pan American Games now, in 2019 in Lima, Peru, I find as you get older, you tend to think a little bit more, sometimes overanalyze things. And the more that I realize that, the more that I come to the realization that I need to maybe just go back to my little 16-year-old brain and say, you know what, go out there and have fun. Go out there and do what I know how to do best. Yes, okay, people are watching. Yes, this may be our one and only chance to qualify for the Olympics, but at the end of the day, like Pierre was mentioning earlier, go out there and have fun. If you want it to happen, make it happen. I'm the only one who can control that. I'm the one who controls my preparation. I'm the one who controls my training. Every day I trained like I wanted to qualify for the Olympic Games. I got there early. I was the last one to leave, did all my recovery protocols. Everything was there. That recipe was all there. All I needed to do at the end of the day was just deliver. And how I deliver to the best of my ability is when I have fun and enjoy performing and get that audience. So I think, yes, there are the pressures and trying to defend that 4th gold medal. But I like to try and put that as aside as much as I can and just focus on what I can control. And that, again, being my preparation and my mindset going into it.
Thanks, Jackie. I think that's such an important component, right? I think we all at some point forget why are we doing this in the first place, right? And it all goes back exactly what you said, as a 16-year-old, as a 10-year-old, 5-year-old, whenever you really started, like, why did you even start in the first place, right? What made you fall in love with the sport and really what keeps you motivated? So thank you for sharing that. I think that resonates with a lot of people, and also for people going through it, keep that in mind, right? Like, enjoy the process. As you said, you're the first one there, the last one there. How do you enjoy that process, right? Because it can become isolating at some point. So keeping yourself grounded and really motivated and going through it, I think, is really important. And I have a question for Joanna. You and I qualified for our first Olympic Games together in the 800 free during literally the last qualifying meet we had in your home country of the Bahamas. And I remember before our event, we just looked at each other and we were like, this is it. This is our chance. Like, there's literally no other chance for us to do this. So I'll always remember that moment. So we battled it out for a good 8 minutes and we both made our first Olympic team.
Yep.
So that was a pretty special moment.
Oh, go on.
No, my question was, can you tell us a bit about what that moment was like for you in terms of mental tactics and anything else that went through your mind?
When people ask, like, what is one of my favorite memories of my swimming career, that is definitely on the list, because that whole year we had planned towards making the Olympics. That was the plan. I swam all of the pro swim series. I tapered over and over again, and it just was not happening. And I had to swim Bahamas Nationals, which was the last qualifying meet for the Olympics. And the pool is hot. It's 95 degrees outside. It's shallow. Like, it's not stellar conditions. And so at that point, before that meet, my coach and I had decided that I was the first B cut. And based on the way that the qualification procedure is, there was a very high chance that that B cut was going to get pulled in because I was the first B cut. And so we agreed. We were like, we're going to just train for the Olympics. You're going to go home to Nassau, do what you have to do, just swim to swim kind of thing. But we're going to train through so that you're swimming fast at the Olympics. And it kind of goes back to what they were talking about with having fun. Both of us warmed up and we were like, well, I guess we could just do it. That's literally what we did. We beat up and down for 16 laps. And I think the important thing out of that story is a lot of it is in your mind. Obviously, looking back at that, I had gone and I had tapered at all those pro swim series meets. I think they were Grand Prix at the time. And obviously I was pressuring myself all the way through that. It wasn't that I had given up on it, but by the time I was like, it is what it is. It felt like, now that I look back, I had definitely released myself of that pressure, and you and I had just kind of decided, hey, we're doing it, kind of thing. So
Yeah,
it's
totally.
definitely a testament to where your mind is as well, because like I said, it was hot. The two of us probably didn't look great after that, and so it's all about where your mind is, for sure.
Totally. And we literally had the same journey. I also tapered for every single meet. I would not drop my time. I was like 0.01 away from the Olympic cut. I don't know how many times. And I just had to keep pushing. And I remember like same thing. And I got injured right before there. Like my chances of making it were very, very small. Like I remember I couldn't even swim butterfly. I could barely swim freestyle. I remember I was just running like crazy, trying to do anything in my power to make it work with my shoulders. So yeah, that was a really special moment. So for everyone hearing, your mind is very powerful. So trust on it, rely on it, because sometimes you will surprise yourself, as we did at that meet.
I mean, guys, trust me. Like, I don't know how many times I went to the Grand Prixes, probably, and I tipped it for every single one of them, and I could not make it. Probably, I was super close to maybe a PR, but not even close to the A cut. So I know the stress. That was a that was such a. I mean, it was a struggle, but at the end of the day, we made it, right? We're Olympians, and that's just gonna last forever. And I am so grateful for that. So Pierre, now I got a question for you. Can you share with us some of the benefits of using visualization techniques? And I guess my other question was, do you incorporate any visualization skills or training in your training program?
Yeah, so I'll ask a question to the panelists quickly. If it's anything like even me as a coach, but some of my athletes said at the Olympics, you try to plan for so many things, and all of a sudden you get up on the blocks, or you get up probably on a diving board, and all of a sudden they say, take your marks, and you hear thousands of camera shots, like something that you never had thought about preparing for. Is that something that happened to you guys? Oh, like that. Even for us as coaches, you kind of go like, where? Wow. Like one of my swimmers says his knees buckled. He was just in the heats of the 200 free. His knees kind of went like, ooh, and he got it. He made the finals, but it's incredible. So to your point, Marcelo, you try to prepare for everything, but you also have to stay open for the adventure of the event. I was just watching the Australian Open today in tennis, where the first Australian woman won Australian Open since 1984. In tennis, like probably in other sports, but in swimming, we know, August 3rd at 11:42, that's when I swim my turn back. We don't know now, but in tennis, you have to wait for, the set could be 3 sets or 5 sets. It could be 2 hours or 5 hours. So you're in the locker room waiting and waiting and waiting, not knowing. And all of a sudden there's an injury and boom, you're on. So, the concept of preparing is to me is a day-to-day concept. You have a bad dive, you got to get ready to, and jump out of the pool, not crawl out and feel like you're, but jump out and prepare yourself to the next concept. For all of you guys and girls that went to the US college system, you went to the football games. Well, half the game in the football game is for the player that got stopped by this 300-pound guy to jump up like, I'm good. And so we have to do this on a daily basis, including, like your suit rips, or you dive in a set and your goggles fall off, and you got to practice because your goggles are going to fall off often. There's a slip somewhere. You worry about, did somebody see it or so? So to me, the visualization has got a few concepts. One is we have to empower our athletes to understand how to. But we also have to teach them that visualization is an everyday thing. When you go to the pool, how am I going to be on the pool deck? I remember watching Debbie Muir, synchro coach, greatest synchro coach in the world. And probably one of the 5 greatest coaches in the world of all sports. And when the athletes would come into the pool in Calgary and walk slowly with their arms down, their shoulders down, she said, go back in the locker room and come back out walking like you're ready to go and win the Olympics. And so that whole concept of preparing into a body that, and I can't remember who said it. I think Jacqueline, you did. The preparation that your body is about preparing every day for a gold medal. There's a great quote that says, shoot for the moon. If you're not going to make it, you'll be with the stars. So I kind of go, the concept of every day becomes not letting your mind drift when you train. For us as coaches and for even athletes within your team to help each other in terms of visualizing, in terms of you're in bed and closing your eyes, and like you can't live the sport. To have fun, you got to get away from the sports too in your mind. But if you're going to get ready, you're in the car getting ready for a final exam, or you're in the car getting ready for a workout. It's the same thing. It's all preparation for championships.
Absolutely. And I mean, like when I made my ACO for the Olympics, I mean, I was not expecting for my cap to fall off with 300 meters to go. And that actually happened. And nobody expects that. You just expect to stick in there. Boom, what happened? Well, I just took it off because he was already all the way up here. You know what? This is uncomfortable. I'm just going to swim without it. So I don't remember if I grabbed it from the from the bottom of the pool, but hopefully I did. Yep. And then now I got a question for Selena and Daniel. And, since you're both divers and and this is something that I thought about throughout my whole college career, but I never actually asked the question. So with all the noises and echoes around the pool during a meet or any international meet, how are you able to maintain your level of focus and keep your mind clear right before diving into the pool? Because there has to be a lot of noise, not just music, but cheering and screaming. Tell us a little bit about it.
I'll go first, I guess. Well, yeah, diving is definitely different because when you're going and it's happening, everybody's silent. So you're so used to in competition, it being so quiet for the most part. You might hear those cameras clicking or whatever at a big event, or someone might yell out in the middle of your dive. Like that can be very distracting. It's happened a time or two to me. And it's really difficult to figure that out. But what I did in my preparation for the games over the last couple of years was, like my coach was bringing in those things. Like we had a synchro swimming, artistic swimming happening in our pool. And so he would go over and tell those coaches like, bang on, like, no, usually he would say, don't, and he'd get mad at them, but he would say like, bang a little louder today, or like play that music. He wouldn't go tell them to turn their music down. We would have aquafit swimming happening 2 different classes the year prepping for the Olympic Games, 2 different types of music going on, and the pools right next to each other. Like it was chaotic. But just getting used to like practicing every day with those noises and getting comfortable with them allowed me to compete with those weird distractions if someone would call out. I'm currently in the US as a GA and coaching diving, and I give you guys so much props for the divers because that swimming is so loud. And honestly, like that's just another level. And I'm sitting there watching being like, I don't know if I could do that. So yeah. Danielle, to let you talk about that and congratulate you for diving at that senior meet today.
Thank you. Yeah, that took me comfortably about 2 years to get used to. So here in the US, they have, diving and swimming is kind of happening at the same time. So I can't even count on my hands how many times it's happened that I'm in the middle of the dive and then they like line up and everything's already like quiet, and then they like I guess the start for a meet or the start for a race happens right before I'm about to go, and then people yelling right as they come out, and it's just chaos. But I kind of figured it out after a couple of years here. Personally, for me, I kind of like it. I know it sounds crazy, but it kind of just reminds me of practice. Just makes me feel a little more like, I guess a little more calm, because during practice, it's just as loud with everyone yelling and coaches yelling at the swimmers and all kinds of stuff going on. But when it comes to these, bigger events and like Selena was saying, it gets super quiet and you'll hear like maybe a coin drop on the floor and it's super dead silence. Personally, for me, that freaks me out a little more because I feel like I have more room to just like let my mind kind of think about way more things than it needs to. But like she was saying, working with distractions, implementing them during practice. Like like she was talking about earlier about her preparation for Tokyo, we've done that too. It's kind of like run it like as if it was for a meet. Like we'll train at different times in swimming. Like it's dead silent, dead like, you know, big conference meets are going to be NCAAs, you know, these huge things. And then personally for me, when it becomes really silent like that, I've kind of learned, you know, with sports psych and it's been you know, my whole career I keep learning, but
Yeah.
it's actually become a tool, you know, to just block everything out and really just, you know, tunnel vision of what I need to do and lights out.
Yeah.
Totally. And
yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That something you both brought up that is really interesting is that you implement that during practice. And I think that's something that not a lot of people take into account of, you know, like external stressors as well, like how you're going to deal with that in the moment of competition. And that connects to what Pierre told us at the beginning. Kind of, you need to prepare yourself. You need to know what's coming at you and know how to react. So I think that's really important. And it's crazy. We've been talking for so long. This has been amazing. I'll ask one last question so that we can open up for the Q&A. And for our audience, start putting in your questions for the Q&A, as after this question, we'll start responding those. So for the athletes, in your experience in elite sport, you must have been at some point in your careers where things were tough, right? So how were you able to come back with a stronger mindset and overcome those obstacles?
I can go. So for me, my biggest obstacle was being told I wasn't good enough, specifically because of how I looked. And that really played with my mental game for a very, very long time. And I can wrap it right back to what we talked about at the beginning. What Pierre had mentioned about having your team with you. It was building that team for me of my coach, my strength coach, my sports psych, my nutritionist, the diving director, my teammates, my family, my friends, literally everyone that I saw every day or at a competition at the pool, outside of the pool, they needed to be on board with me to help me, you know, like not let myself get down or, you know, keep consistent with what I'm eating and learning those tools. It was once I found those people that I knew were going to be there for me to help me do it. I definitely fell off the ladder. Like it takes a process and it takes time. Once I found those people, I did it. And when I qualified that for the Olympics, the one thing I kept saying was, we did it. And it was just like an automatic reaction. It wasn't, I did it because I didn't do it alone and we did it. And they would always be like, no, you did it. And I'm like, no, that was the one thing that after I realized that I was saying it, and then they would say that back, I was like, no, like this is so strongly, I mean this, we did it, because I couldn't have done all of those little things and prepared as I did without them.
I see. Okay. No, and guys, I mean, I think I hearing a lot of like just sports psychology and a sport psychologist. You know, you can be as tough mentally as you think you can be, but that and as sports psychologist, that's not overrated. I mean, everybody needs one. Everybody needs to talk. Everybody needs to say what they feel, because and even you can be the toughest guy on the pool. You can be the toughest guy in the gym anywhere, but inside your mind, other stuff can be like going on, and that and you know so go out there, right? Speak to a sports psychologist and then just say what you feel. That doesn't mean that you are weak or anything. In fact, that just means that you are trying your best to be the best version of yourself. And thank you so much, Lena, for just like just sharing with us like that. We really appreciate it. And then well, that was an amazing chat so far, guys. And we truly thank all the special guests for joining us today. Now to finish up soon, we have a quick Q&A section in which the audience will be able to submit questions throughout the Q&A function on Zoom, and we will go through as many as possible.
So to start us off, we have a question from Olivia. How do you deal with all the pressure? And we want to combine that with a question that an anonymous attendee actually asked, how long did it take you to get to this level? And how do you deal with all these things that are coming at you?
I guess I could go. So speaking a little bit to the pressure, kind of alludes to what we spoke in the beginning of our conversation. For me, at least, it's focusing on the simple things. And if that doesn't work, then speaking to a little bit of what Pierre mentioned in the beginning of the call, building the team around you to get those tools to be able to deal with those stressors or outside stressors. And with regards to how long it takes you to come to this level, I think it's very different for everybody. On my end, I was very fortunate to make the senior team at a very young age, but I've known people who made the London Olympic Games and they were in their mid to late 20s, never made a national team in their entire life, were never maybe top 20 and made it to the Olympic Games. So it's very, very different for everybody. Don't get discouraged. As Pierre mentioned before too, if you want to do it, if you set your mindset saying, I'm going to go to the Olympics one day, you could truly achieve anything.
And I just wanted to add something going off from, kind of the level part. Just a little backstory. When I was getting recruited to come to the United States for college, a lot of colleges outright said I wasn't good enough and, all these things. And, I got an amazing opportunity here. I thank them every day for that. It's kind of sad, my senior day was today, but, these things happen. But what I've really learned, and I really, exploded exponentially here in the US, and, for a variety of reasons, facility, access to weight rooms and nutritionists and sports psych, it's a huge, huge difference from what I had back home. But I think the biggest thing for me was something that always stuck with me that actually Arthur Albiero told me like my freshman year, I remember, like 4 years ago. So one of the biggest things in high performance sports is it doesn't matter how talented you are, all these other things that people think it's all talent. It's just to be coachable. And what that means is, really take in, whatever your coaches are telling you, take in what they're telling you, really focus on these, especially in diving, and synchro swimming is super detail oriented, really make it a point to, okay, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to do this. I'm open to trying these new, exercises or techniques or feedback tools. And I'm going to, okay, yeah, maybe I need to go work on my mental health. I'll try a sports psychologist, and I've never done it before. Be coachable, be open to trying new things and staying, building that relationship with the people around you, especially your coach. I think that's a huge, huge tool to have, and not like Pierre mentioned, not be best friends with your coach and, call him every day, but, going to the pool, knowing that you have an open discussion with them, maybe we can try this, or maybe this might work better. And it's building a team around you,
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
can I bring a point with sports psychologist?
Yeah, absolutely.
From the coach's side, I can tell you that I always felt on a national team that the sports psychologist was an important tool to the coaches. You always think of it as the sports psychologist for the athletes, but, even for us, you're coaching, 15, 10, 8 athletes that responds in 8 different ways. And for me, having a sports psychologist was always really important. We'd go back to them and say, okay, I'm struggling or trying to get the message across, or I don't know how to bring her up or down. And so there were often the eyes of the team around the team. So they would come and go, you know what, I'm hearing some of the kids they're tired or this and that. So having the sports psychologist for the athlete is important, because I don't want a clinical, the athletes don't need a clinical doctor sports psychologist. They need a performance, powerful sports psychologist. But at the younger level, because I know there was a question about the younger, at 12, 13, and 14 and 15, I don't think you necessarily need a sports psychologist. What you need is to surround yourself with other athletes that are the same mindset as you, that want to kick butt, that want to be great, that who knows, not everybody makes it to the Olympic Games, but it's okay to aim at it. Like there's a quote that says, no regrets. When you pack it in, you got to go, you know what? I did the best I could. And I think that's where the sports psychologist comes in at the international level. But at the lower level, I think your teammates and your team around you is crucial.
I see. I see. Oh, and I think it's just to be able to perform at that high level is I mean, it's just such a challenge. And I mean, again, like I said before, like talking to a psychologist is not like it's not just showing weakness. And I think a lot of people mistake that a lot. Like they just take sports psychologists for granted and like what they're there for. Like, no, they're there to help you. They're there to absolutely help you. So I have one more question. This is for Joanna, actually. So I know racing at the ISL with DC Trident has been an amazing experience for you. However, I know that you're not just there to participate, right? But to score as many points as possible while racing the best swimmers in the world. You want to do it for your team and you want to do it right. I want to know, what do you do differently than everyone else to be able to race the very best in the world? Like, have you changed anything throughout your training, or like what you're doing different now to be able to race at that insane high level?
I think there's a few things that go into it. I think one of the main things that the ISL taught me this year is like to go back to that kid that was just having a good time, like racing, whatnot, because that's what it is. We would train all week, and then at the end of the week or 2 weeks, no matter whatever it was, you would get out there and you just have to race what you've got, and everyone was in the same boat. And I think a big part of it was to realize that all these big names, like they're not invincible. I think a big part of my last couple of years is you hear the big names and you think they're untouchable, but then you see them in practice and you realize you're doing the same things, and then one day you're having a good day and you're beating them. I think a big part of it is to realize that nobody's untouchable. We're all doing the same things. We're all doing the same practices, like to a certain extent. We're all doing the same practices. We're all like trying our best, eating well, all of those good things. And so I think the big learning thing of the ISL was remember to have fun, because that's what it was. It was fun. You would be hurting at the end of the week and you just had to go, your team was cheering. And so you just go have a good time, race people. And the other thing it was, you learned that nobody's untouchable, which is also plays into the mental aspect.
Yeah, I see. I mean, like it just, I mean, it kind of goes back to college for me. I mean, like I saw it, like, I mean, the first time it came out in the environment was like, wow, like this, it kind of looks like college swimming. Like it really, like it's a family, it's a team bonding, cheering for each other. Let's go. I mean, yeah.
That's exactly what I had told people, that they're like, what is ISL like? And I said, well, if you've ever been into a college dual meet, it's like that, just amplified. People have on suits and they're trying to go fast and win points.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then and I think I have one more here, and it says and this could be for anybody. What do you recommend for athletes struggling with stress and anxiety and other mental health issues? Why don't we start with Selena?
Oh, sorry, can you repeat the question?
No, yeah, absolutely. So they say, what do you recommend for athletes struggling with stress and anxiety and other mental health issues?
Okay, what do you recommend?
Yeah.
Honestly, just listening to yourself. Like having those feelings, they're going to be there, and that's okay. Like you're going to be stressed, and a lot of the time you're going to be thinking about what other people are thinking, or you have to make a score or a time to do this or get onto that. That's going to create the stress. And those things are always going to be there. You just have to listen to yourself and accept those feelings, and then go back. For me, it's going back to what you've done every day and those processes that you've created. But don't like brush it away. Don't get scared of it. Like just acknowledge it and then take a step to the side and be like, okay, here's what I'm going to do now.
Absolutely. What about Daniel? What do you think?
I think the biggest thing for me was probably surrounding myself with, people with the same mentality, same, wanting the same things. It really eases the pressure off someone could put on themselves. And, if I personally have struggled with anxiety and, you know, especially in a sport like mine, not saying that others aren't, but, you know, it's just very easy to tell yourself, you know, you're not good enough, or you shouldn't be here, you don't belong here. I think the biggest thing I can recommend is really opening up to not, you don't have to go to a sports psychologist or someone recommended by your team or university, but just talking and being open with your teammates is a huge help that I would recommend. And then really going back to why you're doing this. For me was finding that joy in diving again, you know, why I started it. I got to a certain point where I was just, you know, going to practice and being, you know, so focused on what I had to do in 3 months, you know, perform this at this meet and do this and that. You know, my day to day was just deteriorating. So just going back to just having fun, you know, really creating that environment within your team. And then every day you're going to go and be like, I get to go to the pool, you know, I get to do this every day. You know, that was a big change for me.
Just surround your people. I mean, well, surround yourself with people that love the sport as much as you do, and they want the same thing as you do, and they put the team in front of you. Absolutely. No, I love that. I love that. I would like to know Jackie's opinion on this. Jackie?
I think a lot has already been said to this subject. Just speaking to those points again, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, that definitely helps. And again, going back to your purpose, your why. I'm fortunate to go to the pool every single day. You know, leading up to the Tokyo and Rio Olympic Games, that's something that I did. I did a 1 second a day video of something that I felt extremely special and honored to be able to live every day. Was that maybe just being able to go into the gym in a high performance gym environment and training around some of the best athletes in the entire world, or having access to a 30 by 20 meter pool every single day. Just the little things in life where you just put into perspective and say, you know what, not everybody gets to do this. I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to do this every single day and call this my job. So just reminding yourself that every so often is a nice little refresher and keeps you grounded.
I think that's one. I mean, that's one of the things that I say to my partner, Zach, every single day. Once we turn pro, we were like, oh, wow, hey, imagine this. We're doing what we love and we're getting paid for it. And these guys are done. So we just, I mean, we just mess around. But yeah, I think that's super important and very powerful.
Yes, and with that, thank you so much to our incredible panelists, Pierre, Selena, Jackie, Joanna, and Daniel. This was absolutely fabulous, an amazing launch to the webinar series. I also want to thank Marcelo for great moderation and thank our audience for staying with us throughout the webinar. There was incredible engagement from the audience. We actually have a lot of questions in the chat. If you want to get them answered later, please reach out to us via Facebook or Instagram at the Pan Am Aquatics Instagram and Facebook pages, and we will connect with you directly to get those answered. And I invite our audience members to join us in next month's webinar, From Practice to Performance, Reaching Your Highest Potential Every Single Day. So we hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.